Thanks, Arabile. One of the discussions during this past week has been the mandate of the Reserve Bank, with some members of the ANC saying that the Reserve Bank should be nationalised and some saying nothing is going to change. For more on this, I'm joined by Busi Mavuso from Business Leadership South Africa. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. What do you make around these discussions around the mandate of the Reserve Bank and what it does?
So I think the response of the governor is very spot on in as far as this one is concerned. As a Chapter 9 institution, the mandate of the Reserve Bank is very clear, and it derives its mandate from the Constitution. Its mandate is to ensure that we achieve price stability. Why? So that we can ensure that we achieved balanced and sustainable growth. So let's not confuse issues. The mandate of the South African Reserve Bank cannot be growth. We need to, outside of what we're trying to achieve as a country, ensure that we have an environment that is going to make South Africa achieve economic growth. But that cannot be the mandate of the Reserve Bank. What this country needs to do in achieving growth is to ensure that what are the interventions that need to be present to ensure that we address the issue of jobs. Why? Because when we address the issue of jobs, then we address unemployment, which is currently sitting at 37% in terms of the expanded definition, and then we address the poverty levels that are above 50%, and then we address the issue of inequality. So I think in trying to change the mandate of the Reserve Bank, we're not going to achieve this. So that is a hit and miss. So I think we are sending out panic alarms that are absolutely unnecessary. I think we are scattered all over the place as a country at the moment. And I blame this squarely in the ANC, because it therefore says this is a country that has no clue in terms of what it is that they need to achieve to solve for what they need to solve for. Because in implementing this, it's going to be a hit and miss. There is no way that changing this mandate is going to make you achieve, jobs. Let's look at political stability. Let's look at policy certainty. Those are the interventions that the markets and business in particular is going to, respond to ensure that we achieve economic growth, not changing the mandate of the Reserve Bank.
In response to questions and worries over this, President Cyril Ramaphosa said in a pre-World Economic Forum briefing to business leaders that the independence of the Reserve Bank is sacrosanct, and these discussions, and he's saying that as the President of South Africa and also as President of the ANC, will that go a long way in reassuring people who may be having jitters around this conversation?
It is going to go a long way, and I think going to Davos on Monday, this is a message that we need to be very strong on, because remember, foreign direct investors as well as credit rating agencies are looking to get these messages. They are looking to get the strategy that South Africa is going to implement in ensuring that we change the economic trajectory of this country. And if they don't believe what we're selling, if they don't think that the proposed interventions are going to achieve precisely what it is that we need to achieve, then we're not going to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. The main mandate and main focus of South Africa Inc. at the moment is foreign direct investment. So how do we ensure that foreign direct investors support, South Africa Inc.? We therefore need to say precisely as business, what is it that we are going to do to invest in South Africa's economic growth, to invest in GDP growth. And I think we've already started this brilliant discussion last year when we were at the Job Summit. We already came on board, as South Africa, Corporate South Africa, in investing 290 billion in as far as the investment summit is concerned. So those are things that we need to be looking at. We need to be saying, as South African businesses, we believe in South Africa Inc. and we are going to be investing in South Africa because foreign direct investment is going to follow local investment. So I think that messaging is what they want to hear. They want to hear practical strategies, practical interventions that we're going to be implementing, not touching the Constitution is really sacrosanct. You don't touch it unless it's absolutely necessary, because you change the mandate and then what? How does that therefore make people, to actually have jobs? It actually doesn't make sense. It's clearly not thoroughly thought through.
The former Reserve Bank governor and now our current finance minister, Tito Mboweni, believes that the Reserve Bank does pursue already a flexible monetary policy regime. He says that the Monetary Policy Committee does take all these factors that were spoken about at the manifesto into account. So nothing really needs to be changed. And this panic around these discussions are unnecessary, because even you mentioned the Constitution, but the Constitution's also constantly changing. We don't really feel the effects, or the country doesn't really get into as much of a panic as people are getting into now.
So You are actually quite right. So Tito Mboweni is actually spot on. You know that we are coming up with strategies and solutions that are going to be a hit and miss. The Constitution is not, and it's actually very worrying that it seems as if everything that we're trying to solve for as a country points towards changing the Constitution. Because the land reform program that we know, we don't have to amend Section 25. We're saying let's go and amend the Constitution. The issue of prescribed assets, you know, is going to need an amendment of the Constitution. Why? Because the pension funds scheme of the government derives its mandate from the Constitution. So for you to say you're going to have to now prescribe to the fund managers how they invest the pensions, you then going to have to go back and amend the mandate of the GEPF, which derives its mandate from the Constitution. And now we are touching on the Reserve Bank. So I think it's actually a problem, and Tito Mboweni is absolutely spot on.
Busi Mavuso from Business Leadership South Africa, thanks so much for your time on SABC News. After the break, in our personal finance lot, Your Money, we take a look at the residential property sector. Do stay with us.